Sigmund Freud was born into a house of mourning. 3 months before he was born, his grandfather died. Sigmund's own father, Jacob, was deeply shocked by the death, was saddened by it, and so the baby Freud was born into a house which was in grief. And the grief continued because when Sigmund was about a year old, his parents had another brother, Julius. And Julius was a sickly child who died when he was about 8 months old. So this was not an easy household. At first, they must have had a bit of money because they had enough to have a nanny called Resi Witek. And Resi Witek plays a curious part in the Freud story because he said later on that she was his teacher in sexual matters. However, she was sacked when he was about 4 or 5. Now, nobody knows the truth about why she was sacked. The family tried to say she had stolen money from them. There's a book by a German author called Marianne Krull, and she says that actually Amelie Freud, Freud's mother, and his half-brother Philip were having an affair. Now, Jacob had sons by a previous marriage, and they were about 20 and 19 years old. And his wife was very much younger than he was. Amelie was about 20 years old, and so it wouldn't have been the first time that a stepfather, or it wouldn't have been the first time that a stepmother and a stepchild flirted. So the first secret, Marianne Krull suggests, in the Freud family was that the infant Freud stumbled on his mother in bed with his half-brother. The Interpretation of Dreams, first of all, is a book which has been oddly rather less analysed than you'd think it would be. It contains about 144 dreams, but actually Freud didn't dream all those dreams. He was often reporting dreams from his patients, even occasionally dreams that he'd read about in literature. Of the dreams that he dreamt himself, many are very, very short fragments. For example, there's a dream in which he muddles up 2 words to produce the word Nor Ekdal. Well, in fact, Nora and Ekdal are characters in Ibsen's The Wild Duck. I mean, he was enjoying a pun in his dream, and Freud liked puns. Of the long narrative dreams, which have a story in them, which are the dreams in which you can, if you like, look for most significance, what is extraordinary is that half of them almost mention cocaine, are influenced by cocaine, have something to do with cocaine. So that is really quite startling. It doesn't mean that his theory that dreams are wish fulfillments are wrong. It means that the body of the text has a great deal of cocaine in it. I mean, the dream that he uses to introduce the book, the dream of Irma's injection, involves Freud looking at down the nose and throat of a patient called Irma. And he sees there white patches in her nose, which are consistent with using cocaine. He says himself in his analysis of the dream that he had at the time been using cocaine when he was feeling unwell. It's a dream which is deeply influenced by cocaine. Then the second dream is a dream of the botanical monograph. Well, Freud actually wrote a monograph called Über Coca, which was a botanical monograph about cocaine. Now, the dream isn't about that monograph, though he mentions it again. It's about a monograph on cyclamens, which were his wife's favourite flowers, though there's no evidence that Freud ever wrote a monograph on cyclamens. There's a dream called The Dream of the Three Women, where 3 women are in a kitchen and they're making dumplings. And by a series of complicated associations, Freud ends up thinking of Fleischl, the guy who he tried to treat with cocaine. Now, Fleisch in German means meat. And he says, well, in the kitchen I dreamt of meat, and then meat made me think of Fleischl. And Fleischl, of course, was someone who tragically died, as he did in 1891, of cocaine, opium, morphine, and despair, of everything that you could think of. He'd become a shadow of his former self. There's a dream in the interpretation also about a father who takes his myopic son to the eye doctor, and the eye doctor treats him with cocaine as part of the anesthetic for an operation. So there are 7 to 8 dreams, and those are about half the 17 long dreams in the book, which the long dreams dreamt by Freud, that Freud analyzed in the book, which mention cocaine, feature cocaine, are linked to cocaine. So the book, in the book I've titled the chapter, The Interpretation of (brackets) Cocaine Dreams.